Hey everyone, thanks for watching here on YouTube. If you like the show and you like these deck techs, you know what to do. Go down, hit subscribe. That way you'll know whenever we make a new one. If you really love what's going on here, head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/commandersbrew. You can donate monthly and help us make these videos, our audio show, our new series, Battle of the Brews. All the stuff you see here on the channel is all funded through viewers like you. But let's get into this week's deck tech. Sean, what are we dealing with?
Ooh, okay, this week, Garna the Blood Flame. I don't have a Rectos deck. That is not where I started with this. I just started tooling around with some fun stuff, and I ended up here, and I think it's pretty fun. So we all know Garna. Garna is the commander with Flash. Those are always very special, being able to cast your commander with Flash. And the key is, when Garna enters, you get back all the creatures that went to the graveyard from anywhere this turn. So we're going to be able to sack our creatures a lot, get them right back when we cast Garna. We can even sack Garna with her own trigger on the stack and let her go to the graveyard instead of the command zone to get her back in our hand as well, to save on commander tax.
Right.
A lot of stuff like that. And the heart of the deck is super cheap creatures that want to go to the red zone. Like, I'm talking 4/4s for 3, 6/6s for 4, creatures that we just want to tussle with, and if a couple of them die, we don't care. Garna will bring them all back anyway, and we're just going to keep that pressure coming.
Amazing. Well, let's get into it then.
Shall we do some neat moves?
Working on a
Neat.
We shall. The first couple neat moves here revolve around getting us creatures that will then die to make us some mana. So Overeager Apprentice is one of them. You have to discard a card in addition to the cost of sacrificing the Overeager Apprentice to make that 3 black mana, which of course, if we lose a creature card, Garna's going to be able to get us it back right away. Catalyst, Elemental, and Blood Vassal are all sort of versions of this as well. Creatures that when we sack them can give us the mana. So they act as kind of a little bit of a mana bank. We can sort of dump our mana into these guys, have them sit there, and then for whatever reason, especially for casting Garna at instant speed, we can lose these guys, they give us the mana back, and then Garna comes into play, and then they come right back again. So it's really key to be able to get these guys into play early, and that way we can always have Garna on standby with her flash ability, and maybe she's even made it to our hand, so we're not even paying that extra commander tax. That'd be great.
Right.
Another cool way to do this is with Captain Lannery Storm, which is kind of also like a pseudo version of these cards, where obviously Captain Lannery Storm attacks, makes us some treasure tokens, and then we can use that mana generated as well.
Yeah, and the neat thing about Captain Lannery Storm, let's not forget that she gets bigger power-wise for every treasure that you sack. So there's also a method where, like, your opponent, if they have a valuable 4/4, let's say their commander is 4/4, you got a couple treasures, are they going to block Captain Lannery Storm? Is that a trade they want to make?
Right, exactly. And even if they do, they know that you can just get it back with Garna pretty easily. So
yeah, this deck puts your opponents in a lot of tough positions, I think.
A lot of tough decisions to be made on attacks.
Yeah. Let's talk about a package of creatures, a few of many. I talked about 4/4s for 3. They've all got a little bit of a downside, but I don't think that downside is that relevant here. I'm talking Arrogant Bloodlord, 4/4 for 3. The downside is if it's blocked or blocks a 1-power creature or less, you have to destroy it. There's so many boards where there isn't a 1/1 or a 0/4 or anything like that. So you're like, this is basically a 4/4 for 3. Maybe not, but that's why we got Ashenmoor Gouger, a straight 4/4 for 3 that can't block. Don't care, we're not blocking. How about Lurebound Scarecrow, 4/4 for 3? All we got to do is pick a color, and as long as we have a permanent of that color, guess what? Black. We always have a black permanent. and guess what? If we don't and have to sack Lurebound Scarecrow, we'll get it back. No problem.
No problem.
Yeah. We've also run Issereth the Awakener, who is technically just a 3/3 for 3 instead of a 4/4. So 3/3 for 3 is also just a very good attacker. It has Death Touch, so again, your opponents are not going to want to block this very often. But we also get to pay to bring these cheap creatures back from the graveyard as we attack, just in case we don't have access to Garna for some reason, or we're unable to take advantage of her ability. Maybe they went to the graveyard before this turn. Issereth is a great way to bring them back for one turn. But that clause with Isareth means you're never getting them back after that. Like once they leave, they're gone forever.
Yeah, which is a bummer, but sometimes in a pinch, it's what you need to do to end a game or something.
Yeah, I'll throw out another 4/4 for 3. Like I don't care if Arrogant Bloodlord makes one more appearance and then is gone.
Right, yeah, exactly. Next is some really big hitters, some big boys to get out there. And the first being Abyssal Persecutor. That's a 4 mana for a 6/6. Now, obviously, we can't have this guy stick around forever because you can't win the game and your opponents can't lose the game once he's out. But we've got some sack outlets like Demon of Catastrophes, another 4 mana 6/6 with flying and trample. You just have to sack a creature when this one comes in. And then Grinning Demon, which is a 4 mana 6/6. No flying or trample this time. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you have to lose 2 life, but it's also morph. So sometimes you can get people with this guy, although probably not that often. The 4/4 for 6, or sorry, the 6/6 for 4 is just what we're looking for there.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I forgot to mention, or I forgot to put in the notes or whatever. We don't have to flash up, but like Rakdos, Lord of Rats, the Little Rakdos, the original Little Rakdos. Little Rakdos makes a great home here because we're always doing damage. We're always able to cast him, and then to be able to like loop everything back with Garna and cast all these things for just 2 black. What a deal!
Very fun.
So let's talk about a specific neat move that requires Garna specifically. So there's a couple of creatures here that whenever a non-token creature dies, you draw a card. I'm talking Grim Haruspex. That's our other morph. So if they see the morph, they're like, oh, that's Grim Haruspex. What's that, 3/2?
Yeah.
Cool, I'll block with my 4/4. Grinning Demon.
Wrong, Grinning Demon.
Yeah, we've got 2 morphs in this deck. Grim Haruspex and Harvester of Souls, which I'll point out is the most expensive creature in the deck. I mean, there is that new one from Ravnica Allegiance that is a cheaper version where you take a point of damage when you do this, but maybe that's worth it. Yeah, so all these, whenever a non-token creature dies, we draw a card. So think of that. We've got a big attack going. We attack with a huge team. Maybe they have to make some unfavorable trades for them. We lose a couple creatures. We sack the rest. We put all kinds of triggers on the stack that says, let's say, draw 8 cards. All these triggers go on the stack. We sack the Harvester and Grim Haruspex maybe as well. And then we cast Grave Purge before they resolve. 2 and a black. It's 3 mana, and we're going to stack cards from our graveyard to the top of our deck in any order that we want. Then we're going to draw a card. Then we're going to draw all those other cards. And we'll get back all those other things. It's kind of like having access to Garna without Garna. And as you'll know, Grave Purge is one of those cards that there's a couple of printings of it with different names. So this is one of those occasions where we get true duplicates in a commander deck.
Yeah, what do you remember what the other one's called?
Foot Bottom Feast.
There you go.
Yeah.
Foot Bottom Feast. Cool. All right. Another cool move with that specific interaction there too, though, is Stinkweed Imp. Specifically, the side of Stinkweed Imp that says Dredge 5, because we're with all those draw triggers on the stack, whether it be from a Grim Haruspex or something like that. You're dredging if we have Stinkweed Imp in our graveyard, and especially if we can sack it, you can do it a couple times and then cast Garna. Garna cares about creatures that were put into the graveyard from anywhere. So those things that you dredge to your graveyard will just then go directly to your hand once you cast Garna.
Yeah,
it
huge.
can get pretty out of control with the casting and recasting of Stinkweed Imp and the drawing of more cards. If you have a repeatable draw, it can get really out of hand.
Yeah, it works best with Ashnod's Altar. It's one of the best sack outlets the game has ever known for a reason. Because to sack Stinkweed Imp with Ashnod's Altar gives us back 2 of the 3 we spent on it. And then as long as we have a Grim Haruspex, Harvester of Souls, something like that, Stinkweed's Imp sack itself gives us the opportunity to dredge 5. So as for every black mana we spend, effectively we're dredging 5, and then as long as we save up enough mana for Garna at the end, we just get all that back. It's one of the neatest moves in the deck.
That's very neat, yeah, for sure. And speaking of those sack outlets, we're going to need a couple of them. We've already mentioned Ashnod's Altar is obviously a great one, but also take a look at Priest of the Forgotten Gods is a great sack outlet that just came out from Ravnica Allegiance. It's got the tap ability there, so it's not just free and limitless, but it's one that will give you a lot of good rewards with the mana and also the drawing of the card. And then talk a little bit about Insolent Neonate.
Oh, sure, because Insolent Neonate costs 1 red. So there's a world where we cast it on the first turn, and we're going to chip in for 3 or 4 damage, because it has Menace, right? It could take a few turns for a player to be able to deal with it. But as long as Insolent Neonate's there, for free, it doesn't matter if it's tapped, doesn't cost mana, we can discard a creature card. I mean, you don't have to discard a creature card, but we're going to discard a creature card. Sacrifice the Insolent Neonate, and then draw a card. If we're ever planning on doing some Garna shenanigans, just throw this in, and you'll get Insolent Neonate back, you'll get the card you discarded back, and you get that extra draw off of it. It's just extra, it's like a little bit of a draw engine among the Garna shenanigans going on. Insolent Neonate just pumps up Garna. It kind of turbocharges Garna.
Cool. And finally... We've got...
This is a closer. We're here.
Yeah.
This is not a sack outlet. This is not a creature. This is just a closing card. This is a Savage Beating.
Yeah.
So giving the option to entwine double strike and an extra combat step. There's a world where we don't need to entwine this. Like, we have enough power on the board to attack one player on our first combat step, finish them out, and then turn everybody at another player for another combat step, do major damage that way. If we only have one opponent, we can double strike on the same opponent. And if we have the luxury of buying it all, let's say if we have maybe an Ashnod's Altar or one of those like creatures that sack for mana, maybe we've built up a few treasures with Lannery Storm, we can certainly just close out entire games, do such incredible damage.
Yeah, Savage Beating, very, very strong. Stronger in Commander, because of the multiplayer aspect. We need those extra combat steps for these aggressive type decks. That's why these cards are so good in Commander, because they allow the like really aggressive like tap out to attack everyone decks to be able to play in this multiplayer sort of format. So yeah, you'll need a couple of them if you're looking to be aggressive. That's for sure. Savage Beating is a good one. Any surprises or discoveries with this deck, Sean?
Yes. I was thinking about cards that ask us to sack creatures. I couldn't help but notice we have creatures with massive powers on the board. So how about Soul Blast? We have to sacrifice everything as an additional cost, but that's actually a good aspect of it. Like, when sacking your creatures is part of the cost of a spell, no one can interfere with that. Like, if I've got big 6/6 demons and a bunch of 4/4s for 3, I can cast Soul Blast and no one get to be like, okay, in response, I'll try to wipe the board. It's like, too late. I've already sacked everybody.
I mean, countering the spell would be pretty bad.
I mean, countering it's bad, but then so what? Like, I'll just I'll bring them back with Garna if I need to.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You want to be able to play the spell, sack all your creatures, deal that huge damage equal to the power of the sacrificed creatures, and then if we got a little extra mana kicking around, Garna comes back, and then we got all those creatures back in our hand again.
Yeah, even if we don't have enough for Garna, if we can pull off a Grave Purge loop after this, that's pretty good too.
That's quite good. Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Really good. All right, well, it looks like it's time for the budget report.
This is where we take all the cards, put them in the graveyard, and then see which ones Garna brings back. Hint, all of them.
All of them.
This deck was cheap because, like, very few decks care about 6/6 flying tramples with drawbacks like this one does. So a surprising number of the cards are like a gumball or less. So this whole deck comes in at $74, which is pretty cheap. And it'll get cheaper if you consider cutting, like, Savage Beating. The card we just talked about is an $8 card, which is, I guess, it's just so little printed and it's in higher demand and lower supply, but it's a great card. Ashnod's Altar and Solemn Simulacrum make up another $10+ on the deck. So if you want to find alternative than those staples, other ways to other ways to ramp, maybe another Mana Rock, maybe another. I mean, I don't want to cut Ashnod's Altar. It's such a good card, but yeah. Like, this deck, most of the value is just in a few cards at best. So, like, I think you can get this deck under 50 quite easily.
And obviously, if you're fine with brewing around this price point, you're getting some pretty decent cards here for not that much.
Yeah.
Favorite cards wise, I'll go and I'll say my favorite card in the deck is Flame Shadow Conjuring. It's the 3 and a red enchantment that when something comes into play that's non-token, you pay 1 red and you get a copy of it. It has haste and you have to exile it. This thing does a lot of work in this deck because not only are you getting a hasty version of the creature you just played, so it kind of just gives the creature that you just played haste, except that you can freely attack with it and have it die and you don't care. So you can get in with it. You can either get some damage in or, force some bad blocks or whatever it is. If it dies, no big deal. But if it doesn't die, then you have some sacrifice fodder there for like a Priest of the Forgotten Gods, or even just Ashdod's Altar, just to get a little extra mana. Like, you're getting disposable creatures, you're getting to attack with them. It's got everything you want, and it's for a very low mana cost. And since this deck has a pretty low curve to begin with, like having that extra mana kicking around is not hard. So I think Flame Shadow Conjuring is really well set up for this deck.
I agree. It's really fun when it comes out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for my favorite. I'm gonna say Skursdag High Priest. It's got that morbid trigger to make a 5/5 black demon token with flying onto the battlefield. That's 5/5 flyer demon. That's what this deck wants. More and more of those. And the fact that you have to tap it and it's a morbid trigger. Our commander has flash, and we can take away. Like, we can effectively give this haste at any moment, so we can surprise our opponents with demons if, like, something's going on. Yeah. We're sacking our own things, so we're often just generating demons at end steps anyway. This card does a lot of work.
Does a lot of work. This is one of the first rares I ever opened, I think, in a draft, and had this in some old commander decks. So this one's got a special place for me because I remember playing with this in the early days of Commander. This is a great card.
Yeah.
Very frustrating to play against. A lot of... gets in, you even if they manage to kill your demon on the same turn, you're going to get that demon back again, so.
Yeah, the demons themselves give morbid triggers when they die.
Exactly. So it becomes very hard. It's like a very good way to block in the air, Skursdag High Priest, actually.
True.
That 5/5 is usually just going to be sticking around there. Very good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's it. There you go. That's the deck.
Oh, man, fun deck. I think I want to put this one together in real life because I don't have a deck that, like... It's just a little bit of recursion. It's pretty resilient if you play your cards right. You got to kind of have the draws be a bit on your side, but there's a lot of sneaky value engines in here.
Sneaky value engines. What we're all about.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening and watching, everyone. We'll see everybody next week. Remember to go watch Battle of the Brews right here on YouTube. Check it out.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to Ding the Bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.